Mr. Tommy Mello, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. Look at you and I, earliest guys at work in the whole world.
It is early and it's still hot though. It's still hot in Phoenix.
Yeah, well, you got to get, especially in Phoenix, you've got to get ahead of it, right?
It's interesting because we have a lot of unhappy installers right now when they have to wait at the distribution centers. And I'm like, well, what do you expect when it's 120 degrees? Like everybody, it's kind of like in the cold, like Canada. If it's 32 below, you guys get a little ornery. And that's
Yeah,
what we get here in Phoenix when it's 120.
it's either hot or it's cold.
That's right.
Yeah, I always bug my parents. I'm like, why didn't you guys stay on the boat for 2 more days? I'd be from San Diego.
Yeah,
They don't like that joke.
that's great.
Hey, Tommy, some people might not know this, but who the heck are you? And why would you be talking to this worldwide group of construction professionals?
Well, it's an interesting story. I was born and raised in Michigan, and one thing you do in Michigan when you're a kid is you learn how to shovel snow and mow lawns. So, I started construction early, and then when I was in my early 20s, I got really heavily into garage doors,
Garage
and I
doors.
really fell into it. It was a buddy of mine that was answering phones, so garage door repair and installation, and but I became obsessed with home service. I think it's the most untapped resource. I went to school and I was pre-dental. I took a lot of physiology, anatomy, organic chemistry, biochemistry, and I didn't enjoy it. And so I was pre-dental, and I ended up really doing well in my garage door company. And I decided to go back to school to get a master's degree, and it didn't help me at all. It literally helped me network. That's the only thing it did. So just for those of you that are out there, if you're making great money in home service, you don't need to get a master's degree. You got to get a PhD. You got to be poor, hungry, and determined. That's what I tell people.
What's that?
But
A PhD is poor,
hungry
hungry,
and
and
determined.
determined. Oh, you're good at this stuff. I'm writing that down. There's a
Yeah.
good
So
chance I'm going to call it my own in about 2 years, but for
yeah,
right now,
trust me.
I'm giving you the credit right now.
That happens. And we made every mistake in the book. The people listening right now just know this. I was the guy out there in the truck. I was the accountant. I was the phone operator. I was the warehouse guy. I made mistakes. I literally would ask my accountant, how did we make so much money? I don't have any left.
Yeah.
My time was taken. I burnt relationships left and right. And I hired consultant after consultant. I got a great CPA, gave me a lot of books to read, like the
Mm.
Ultimate Sales Machine. Then he calls it the Red Bible. The Ultimate Sales Machine is the Red Bible. Then I read E Myth, and then he gave me the Richest Man in Babylon. And I go back to my
I
CPA
love
every
that
month.
book. I love
It's a,
that book. Richest Man in Babylon's a great book.
there's a bookshelf here, and there's a lot of great books. And I say readers are leaders, but you know what? The big thing I say is I run into failure fast, and I don't make the same mistake over and over again.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of weaknesses, a lot, and I hire around my weaknesses. So, and I focus. One thing I read too is the One Thing by Gary Keller, and I used to take every opportunity. Real estate investment, I'm in. I can invest in a restaurant, I'm in. And like I was like, as an entrepreneur, we say yes a lot, and now I'm like super focused on this only. And I'm here to just tell you guys my message. And I'm just like you. I've got a lot of great people. I'm only as strong as my team, and I'm literally on the what do they say? The shoulders of giants right now. So,
Standing on the shoulders of giants. Yeah,
that's right.
I agree. Well, let me ask you about that. Our topic today is to talk about recruiting because it's a problem right now. And Tommy, you and I have been around long enough to know there's only two big problems that come up in business depending on the market cycle. We don't have enough guys or we don't have enough work. So it's help me
That's it.
sell or help me find people. Right now, it seems easy to get work. It's hard to say no. The phones are ringing, online leads are coming in. We got to find people. But before we do that, you're a very busy guy with a running and successful business. I'm gonna take the words out of the mouth of some guy who's listening in his truck right now. How do you find time to read books?
I think I'm almost near 1,000 on Audible, and I got to tell you, I speed read, and most of those books have not been fully read. If I don't get a lot out of the book during the first chapter, I don't listen to it. If I don't like the author's voice or whoever's reading it, I don't listen to it. And certain
That's a
times
good
I
point.
skip ahead to certain chapters. But you know, the thing is one of the things that I learned to do is on long. I specifically try to have long road trips and trips on the plane uh, to other areas because we're in 19 states now with A1 garage door service. And, the more time I get to be trapped in an area, whether it's a long drive or a
Yeah.
plane ride, that's great, great. And it's kind of addicting. I got to tell you, when you start grabbing knowledge bombs from people that spent their whole lives putting it into one book and all their success and all their failures, I think we kind of owe it to ourselves to discover some of those truths that they might have spent 60 years working on.
And you can condense it down. Yeah. I think you may know this, but my old business partner is Brian Tracy, and I'm sure you've read his books, Eat That
Oh, yeah.
Frog, The Psychology of Selling, The Psychology of Achievement. And I spent a lot of time, growing the global franchise business that I bought from him. But one of the things that he said that was really interesting to me is turn your car into a university. So for anybody who's got somebody in university right now, you know that in any given semester, they're going to take about 40 hours of instruction, which you as a parent are probably paying for. But you can do 40 hours of driving. That's 20 days of driving back and forth to work for an hour each way. If you can listen to podcasts, if you can read if you can listen to an audiobook, you turn your car into a university. It's a little step.
That's great advice.
It's a great way to bring in that info.
Just be careful that you're guarding yourself. I would see a lot of guys out there that listen to stuff, and I'm like, I listen to the advice, and these guys are like, you're going to be a millionaire. Just do this, do this, do this. And the one thing I ask is typically follow the guys that have done it, that are, when I was in my master's program, I had some teachers that were there just based on academics. They literally were tenured in. Yeah. And they were the worst teachers I ever had. They literally didn't understand real world concepts. But then I had teachers that said, I'm coming back because I want to pass on my knowledge. I'm a multi millionaire. And I had several teachers that just came back because they're like, look, they drove Porsche Ferraris to school. I remember specifically. And I was like, that's the guy I want to learn from. Not these guys that are like, turn to page 18. We're going to be talking about supply and demand. And I'm like, but there are other economics teachers that I was like, wow, this is real world. This is specifically about the real world, and it's not based on a concept. So I just be really careful who you listen to, because I love Grant Cardone and I love the Wolf of Wall Street, and I listen to those guys for encouragement. But at the same time, they're putting out the Grant Cardone courses. They work for everybody. I like specific stuff for home service if I'm going to be a home service guy. Right. And they're very, very good. They set out they're great guys, and they're great at what they do as far as sales or whatever. But you just got to be careful, because you got to get into a niche and learn more. And I know guys that jump from course to course to course to course, and they're waiting for that magic lightning in a bottle to save their life. And that's all I'd be cautious of.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you. That's very good advice. So listen to the right people. Make sure you choose your mentors wisely. Right?
Correct.
Yes. Hey, today let's jump to the recruiting side.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is exciting. I mean, thank God we're in the point in time we're in right now, where it seems, like I said, the online leads, they're coming in. The sales are easy. People are just begging. If you can't show up Tuesday, can you please start Wednesday? These are good times, but we can't find enough people to deliver. We can't find good people, can't keep them. What do you have to say about recruiting? How can we turn that around in our business? What have you learned?
So this is a huge subject. I think this is the most important subject of anything, as long as you've got a strong team when it comes to there's different aspects of the business. Like we talked a lot about the CFO and what that position, if you could keep the money. But if you can't figure out a way to get talent, you're never going to grow. Like I can tell you this, you could take two people and I've got, for example, let me give you a quick thing real quick. You got a CSR A and B. One's booking at 60%, one's booking at 90%. They book an opportunity of 20 calls a day, $500 ticket average over the course of 300 days.
Right.
One at 90% made you $1 million more. Now, most people listening say, I only pay that person $15 an hour, but you understand that little 30%. And it really does exist, because most companies are at 48%. I'm at 87%. So 90 is not out of the range. That's $1 million more, $1 million for that one employee. So literally, this is the secret of sink or swim. So what I've come up with during the pandemic was we spend all this money in marketing. I talk to guys, they spend $100,000 in marketing and they go, I can't get good people. And I'm like, well, let me ask you this. You spend $100,000, $1.2 million a year. How much are you spending to market towards new employees? And they say, well, if I'm on 2 Craigslist ads, that's $70 a week. So somewhere around about $380, and I'm like, so you spend 380, but you spend 100 grand to get new customers. I think that's kind of backwards, don't you think? And but most people don't think about recruiting. Then you got to orient the people. Then you've got to train the people. Then you got to retain the people. It's so busy chasing after new employees, and we hire out of just the fires. We're like, oh my God, we lost an employee. We need to get another guy, or I'm back in the truck. The worst thing is you should always be recruiting and hiring.
Right.
So those are some basic stuff, and we could get into it a lot deeper. I just wanted to start out and say, change your marketing mind to say, if I replace this, coach this guy up, got a better CSR, that's $3 million. I don't need more leads. I need more quality leads with quality people running them with high conversion rates, good average tickets, good reviews, and watch what'll happen to your company.
Yeah. So much packed in there. But what's interesting is the way you rattled off the numbers that supported the logic. And so what did it take for you to become a numbers guy to understand the math? Because you talked about CSRs, conversion rate, acquisition cost per lead, conversion rates. Most people don't talk like that. I mean, I hope they do if they listen to my show. But how did you get there? Were you always naturally a guy who looked at his numbers?
I became obsessed with math. Reading was never a strong suit. I actually got a tutor for reading. The was the hardest word in the dictionary when I was in first grade. I was like, it's TH just, and then E, the was hard. So my mom and dad got me a tutor, and I ended up, but math always came super easy. And then, I look at math and I'm like, I do not make a lot of decisions based on feelings. I say, here's where we're at today. Here's a performance improvement plan. And here's why we need to hit it. But I lead by example. And I got to tell you, is when you show people the numbers, they understand the why. And I think it's so important for people to understand. But there's every single thing. My CSRs are on performance pay, and they make either minimum wage or the bonus structure. And the bonus structure, I've got people making $28 an hour. So hiring became easy when I could say top producers could make $28 an hour, but bottom producers quit right away. My whole place here is on all performance pay. Right. So if we hit a bad economy, everybody swoops down with the company. If we hit a great, and if you kill it, you're going to make a lot of money for me. But it's a winning environment here.
Yeah, I can hear it in your voice too. You've got what I call the above the line mentality. You're proactive, you take responsibility, your language is filled with taking ownership of the things around you. You've got a vision, you think about excellence. A loser mentality is what you're not looking for. Those are people who place blame, make excuses. They're negative, they're in denial, and it's all about scarcity.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what? I'll tell you the biggest fallacy when it comes to recruiting and employment is I did a contest, and this is me talking negative a little bit about one of the things I've done. I did a contest for $5,000 for a weight loss contest. It was about 6 months ago. And there was first, second, and third prize. It was like 3,000, 1,500, 500. And I announced it. We talked about it a couple of times. And at the end of it, there was only 4 people that participated out of 350 employees. And what I realized, and this is very, very important, the reflection, is I realized one thing. If I would have talked about it every day, if I would have sat down with the people that, there was 50 people involved in the beginning and got their significant other and built accountability partners and reminded people every day and showed them why they're going to be a better person, a better dad, a better mother, a better uncle. If I would have talked about it and we created a group me and pushed people every day and built a culture, the biggest thing I can tell you that I failed, and I'm going to do it again, is I thought money was the motivator. I made a big mistake. I said, hey, who can't use a few $1,000s? Everybody's going to be working out every day. But I didn't change the environment. I didn't say, hey, guys, let's be strong today. McDonald's or salad. Get the salad. And I could have been doing that. I could have set up just an automatic, like I've got all kinds of stuff that I could have automatically text message for the whole month.
Right.
And, I literally set them up to fail. So when it comes down to it, people go, I think he left because of more money. He didn't leave because of more money. He left because you're kind of a jerk. You don't talk to him one-on-one or her. You don't take the time to find out what's important to their family. They don't know what's going on in their business, and they're scared. And they want to know if you're a leader that's going to take them somewhere. The money you might think is why they left, but really deep down, the money is not what someone like me wants. Back in the day, the older baby boomers, they say, if you give me 2 pennies more, I'll stay. It's a different mentality now.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. We have to be the ones that understand the building. I can't do it all on my own. we talk about revenue responsibility per hour a lot on this show. And that's how much I'm responsible for as the business owner. It's a big number. And the brief math of it is if I'm $1 million company, and I'm just using that for easy math, and I work 2,000 hours a year, which is 40-hour work weeks, but taking 2 weeks off. And I know that most of us work more than 2,000 hours a year.
Yeah.
Do the math. My responsibility is $500 an hour. It's not my wage, it's not my salary, it's not my take home. It's what I'm responsible for. I got to make sure I've got 5 guys working who are producing $100 an hour. However, that $500 an hour comes, it's my responsibility. And so the force multiplier is people. It's people, it's systems, and it's thinking. It's actually listening to shows like this or doing the things you talk about because they've got to move forward. So let me do this. I prepped this question in advance because I went and looked at your website. It's fantastic. You talked a lot about your online marketing. We're here to talk about recruiting, but I want to do this. If we took a blank piece of paper and we put recruiting in the center of it, what has to come before recruiting? What has to come before I find the right people? And then after you answer that question, I'm going to ask you what has to happen after it.
Well, I would say I learned a lot from a guy named Al Levy with the 7 Power Contractor. But
yeah, he's been on my show.
Yeah, he's a good buddy of mine. I've worked with him for years. And so I got my manual here. It says everything from these are my main. I got 39 manuals now, but this is just the core. And I can tell you that you need to have a plan. You need to have a manual. You got to tell people how to win. See, people come in, you got to be able to fight, because if you think they're going to come to you, recruiting is the act. I love comparing things to sports. I'm a sports player, and I'm not a manager. I'm a coach. And ultimately, I can tell you this: when a recruiter goes out, they actively go with the binoculars and they measure pitches. I mean, we remember seeing that. What do we think? Or a military recruiter, they're showing up to the spots where their avatar with a perfect kid that's 18. They send you there for a shaver. They're there recruiting, not letting the people come to them to enlist. Right. So, I think there's a difference that people perceive is I'm out there recruiting. I'm on Craigslist. I go to job fairs. No, you're waiting for people to come to you. You got to recruit. So the active knowledge of really recruiting and just knowing what that concept means. But as a business, I've got a training center here that I can train 50 guys a month. I have an apartment complex with 24 units that I put them up. I've got literally an apprentice program that they start for a month with an LMS. They come here, I can knock out. You go in your own market. I've got 26 markets. You go in your market for 30 days and you got a ride along for them. I'm asking how much do they smoke cigarettes? How much were they on social media? What kind of questions did they ask? Did you ride in their car for dinner? I want to know what their car looked like. I want to know all these things. Then we take their significant other out to dinner and we learn about that person and we sell them on the position because that's important. All these things are in forms. They're in exact processes. And I got to tell you, to say I'm the perfect, believe it or not, it could be a shitstorm at times. I'm not going to pretend that I'm the perfect, but we got more figured out than most, I would say. But
we got to fail. We have to fail. It's never a walk in the park. And if anybody thinks that you or I have always had it as a walk in the park, then we're doing our job wrong.
You know what? And I go into this and I'm like, okay, I know that at 350 is going to be different than 1,000. That's why right now I had a coach one time that told me to read, and I got the book on the shelf. I don't remember what it's called, but he said, there's peaks and valleys. And it really matters about the amount of employees you have, because what happens is when you're in a valley, you have too many direct reports. Everybody's extending themselves too much. You got to change your technology stack. You got to change a few things up. I had a company in here filming and they said, did you know that KFC opens a new store every 8 hours? And we filmed KFC. And I said, that to me is something to aspire to. What would have to happen? So I wrote down to get to 1 billion on this whiteboard over here. I said to get to 1 billion. And I said, an average technician could easily do 500,000. That's a low number for me after my training. And we train NLP, eye contact, body language, tonality. So I put 500,000. And I remember my guys were like, one day, if we work hard for 30 years, it'll be $100 million. And I'm like, no. So I wrote down 1 billion and I said, okay, so we need 2,000 technicians. So then I backward into it and I said, if in 4 years, what would I have to do? So I divided that by 4, broke it down by month, drew a line, and backed into it with math. And I said, we got to be able to recruit 20 guys a month and then scale that up to 50. And then we got to have a good retention rate. and we've got to be able to have the installers to keep up with it. Well, we're still on that line to do $1 billion in the next 2 years, and it seems crazy, but it's scalability. And so when I walk them in here, they go, "Dude, what are you on crack?" And I go, "No, look at this. If we do this and we build a training center and we get full-time recruiters and we start really marketing for the best employees and we build an LMS and we train and we get performance pay dialed in, do you guys realize we could hit this?" And now you ask anybody in here, they're like, "We're going to be $1 billion company." They saw it, they know it, and we talk about it all the time. So I think the visionary has to make them believe, and you got to have great integrators.
Yeah. Well, so you put together a plan, you beat the plan up with logic, use math, and then you talk to your team about it to make it come to life.
Exactly. And every day, I'm the biggest optimist you'll ever see. If the cup's empty, it still got a little bit of something on the bottom for us to like. I'm a little bit overzealous. I'm like, shoot for the stars. If you land on the moon, you're still doing good. But
I tell you, what if you only end up at 800 million? Is that a loss? Did you fail?
Oh man, I'll be so disappointed.
But you know what I mean? I just had this very same conversation with somebody. They said, "You know what, Dom, we have to do another 800,000 in the second half of the year." And they were very clear about it. So we came into the meeting, that was the prep for the meeting. Then we came into the strategic planning meeting, and I did all of our exercises around hitting 1 million in the second half of the year. And during the break, the president pulls me aside. He said, "Dom, the number's supposed to be 800 grand. I know that's what you told me, but that's not why you bring me on. You want to hit 800 grand, we got to aim for 1 million. We got to aim for 1.2. Get your team bought into 1.2, 800 grand will happen. If we aim for 800 grand and they come in at 750, they're going to think, yeah, we didn't do too bad. But if you want 800 grand, we better shoot over it."
Yeah, what's interesting is we were talking about working out before we jumped on, and when my trainer says, "Hey, dude, I need you to get 15," it's crazy, but I struggle on the 15th one. But if he would have said 20, I would have struggled on the 20th one.
Yeah,
and it's funny because they did this study where they put a mouse into water, and after 15 minutes they stop, and they're barely making it out. So they pull them out, and they wait 5 minutes. They put them back in, and this is not exaggeration. Yeah. They make it 60 hours. So from 15 minutes, they make it 60 hours, and the reason why is because they understand now. I don't know. There's some logic behind it, but the point is, we could push ourselves so much further than we do. Yeah. And we set these goals that are just stupid, because here's the thing. We need deadlines. We need accountability. We need consistency. We need to figure these things out.
Yeah.
And unless you have people to push you, and I'm always, I've got managers all around me that say, "Dude, you don't understand. We're falling apart. We're going too fast." And I go, "Then we're gonna have to adapt. We're gonna have to conquer." And they go, "Well, we might lose money in this market." I go, "Okay." I go, "We might have to shut it down, but we're gonna figure it out. I'm not stopping. We've got trainers, we've got recruiters, I couldn't help COVID. We had to do some different things during a world event like that, but it made us stronger. It really pulled things together. I had people waiting outside my office, donating all their PTO and literally saying they'll take a paid deduction to keep this company around. And it wasn't about this is before we knew about PPP money, but they said, we don't want to lose employees. And as the owner and the president, or the CEO, whatever, I said, "Guys, a long time ago, I was on a plane, and I go on a lot of plane trips. And I said, one day this turbulence was just so bad, and we're all over the place. The oxygen things came out, the lights are flickering. The lady was holding the thing, and this baby and this lady were screaming, and I was praying. And I was just sitting there for 15 minutes, and we leveled out, and we were just kind of sitting there like this a little bit. And the pilot came on after 15 minutes and said, "Hey guys, sorry about that. We hit a real bad patch there." And all I could think is, I hated this pilot, because I just wanted to know when it was going on. Hey guys, this is what you wait 15 minutes. So my job as a leader is to let them know there's a little bit of turbulence coming up. And even when we're going through the turbulence, is to let them know we're okay. We've got a plan. We're not going down. We're not going to die. This is not what's going to happen. So I always relate that story, because as a leader, you don't want to face the people and tell them, but just be upfront. They want to know there's a plan. They want to know that you're thinking about it. And we fail to do that a lot of times.
Yeah. I've made that mistake where I didn't communicate enough. And you know what I found out happened, and it happens to me every time I don't communicate enough, is that people make up their own stories.
You're right. And they do. And I don't like the stories they make up.
Yeah, but they're fantastic. I'm like, where did you pull that out of? But really, if I look back at the blame, it's because I didn't deal with it properly. Where I find it happens to me is when a key employee leaves for whatever reason. They leave or I ask them to leave. Something happens. But people around are like, we're going down. Johnny left. Do you know what that means? And then they start to whip up some crazy story. And in reality, Johnny left because his things just weren't working out, and wife got a better opportunity, and they moved town. And it was time to go. Just a natural course of events. Nothing really sinister, but man, the back talk starts to ramp up inside the company. And if I don't, not that I need to control it, but I need to at least need them to see that there's a solid hand on the tiller. Like I know where we're going. We're going to be fine. We've got a plan.
Well, that's the key. And, I think when we go to look for employees, as far as the recruiting goes, is, there's different years that I could tell you. Indeed is really hot right now. Craigslist used to be a little bit better. And you look at it, and I know that there's an administration right now that's really, and I do believe that the current administration is paying people to stay at home. Now, they haven't proven that necessarily, but, here's the one thing I can tell you is, you want to know where your avatar lives? If you're looking for 22, 25, 27-year-olds, they live on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat. And if you learn those avenues, the average TikTok user spends an hour a day. Now, people go like this, TikTok crap, blah, 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 blah. But you got to understand, you're going to hire millennials and you're going to hire younger people. So get that out of your mind that millennials are crap, because
they're not.
You're a crappy leader. You're a crappy owner if you can't work with people. You got to be able to work with Black, white, Cuban, or Asian, male, female, millennial, or not.
Yeah,
they're human beings, and they're from the United States most likely. And I work with a lot of VAs. But if you can't manage, if you blame it on millennials, or because whatever reason in your head, I got a group of people, and I do an orientation for 3 hours to every new group that comes in. And right now I got 20 some odd guys here, and I say,
sorry, you just hired 20 guys.
No, I've got a class of 30 coming in next month and a class of 50 the month after.
So I'd like everybody to pay attention to that, because we're talking about, in most cases, people listening to the show are dying to get one more person, two more people. And you've got a class of 20 and a class of 30 coming in.
And 50.
And 50, of course.
Well, here's the thing is, when I go out and get a haircut, and I love, if the gal's like amazing, she's smiling.
Yeah.
I'm giving her a card and saying, listen, let me just explain something that's way different than most people say. Most people give a card and say, you should come check us out one day. And they give a business card and say, if you're looking for a career, what you really should do is say, listen, you are amazing. I got to tell you something. You're going to love A1 Grocery Service. We're going to be having a barbecue. I'd like you to just come through. We're doing it Tuesday and Thursday at noon. Which one works better for you? I'll call you. Or I'll try to get their number, because I'm proactive. Now, giving your card to every Joe Blow, it doesn't make sense. If I see a good busboy, I'm going, holy cow, what's your name? Dude, I've never seen anybody smile so much in my life.
So you're looking for attitude. You're
I don't look 100% attitude. Listen, I can teach anybody how to do the business. I need somebody that smiles. I need somebody that can look me in the eyes. I can't teach you how to love yourself. That's going to take me 10 years. Okay. I'm not Dr. Phil. That just takes too long. Yeah. I want a successful company. And Starbucks has a great program for that, where they'll take people in younger, and they figured out a way to literally make lives better.
You know what their churn rate is at a Starbucks or a McDonald's?
I don't.
Okay, so McDonald's is 300% a year. That means their staff will turn 3 times a year. Starbucks is a lot lower, but Starbucks solved the biggest problems that little mom and pop bakeries have, which is we can't open early because nobody wants to work that early. But there's a Starbucks on every single corner, and they all open at 5 or 6 in the morning. They completely solved that problem because they became an HR company that serves company.
That's exactly it. Coffee. And if you figure that out, if you figure out that growth starts with the people, and that consistency is the key. I tell my guys, literally the other day, I said, guys, look, here's the thing. You know what I would do? I would create an exact, and we go through it all the time, but I go, some of you guys veer to your own side and you got this. When I see this type of person, I do this. I said, and they were doing role play up at the front. And I said, guys, this role play is great. And I love role play. I do a lot of it. But I said, let me tell you what my answer is when I walk in. First thing I do is I play with the dog, and I got a big smile. And I say, this is a beautiful home. How long have you lived here? And then I'm looking for the nest. If they got a nest, I know they're into home automation. I'm looking for anything that I could correlate myself to in the home or in the garage. If they got a tent, I'm talking about camping. When we walk in there, I go, wow. I don't go, oh, a broken spring. I go, wow. When's the last time you had this thing looked at? And then we're talking about the Harley. I'm spending 30 minutes. I'm diagnosing the person before the problem. And then I'm going to find out how they're going to pay. I'm going to get them pre-approved for financing because we know inflation's going up fast now. And if they could use A1's money rather than their own, it makes a lot of sense because rich people, smart people, they love using other people's money. I hate the word financing because everybody goes, well, they're not broke. They don't need financing. That's the biggest fallacy in the world. But we were going through it and I go, we're missing the whole piece of it. It's connecting with the customer, building relationships. Right. Because I want to do the best thing for my clients. And if we could figure that out, we'll get the most referral business. If this is my mom's house and I know she's moving next week or next month or next year, I'm not going to do the same thing. So let's find out what's good for them. Because when you go to the doctor, first thing they do is they give you a lot of paperwork. They take your heart. They have you cough. They look in your ear. Then they're going to say, how much are you working out? Do you smoke cigarettes? Do you drink a lot of alcohol? How much are you sleeping? Then they're going to ask you about some stuff in your life. And this is what we got to do. We are the doctor. The doctor doesn't come in and say, hey, I know what's wrong with you. Take this. And then what's so funny is they say, if you want to live, here's the prescription. Do you ever go, that seems expensive. I don't want that. No, you go like this. I hope my insurance covers it, but no matter what, I'm paying for it. Yeah. Because you feel so strong that they ask you the right question. They listen, that you don't give two shits what it costs for the prescription. So I'm like, guys, that's exactly it. If you do your job right, they don't care about the money. You know, if it's a lot of it, wasn't expecting that, but if this is what I need, and I need it. And we miss that point so much in the home service space.
Let me ask you something about finding these people, because you're looking for the right attitude. You're hiring a lot of people. That means you got to sift through a lot of people, right?
Yes, a lot of people.
You use Facebook and Instagram and TikTok to recruit. Are you putting ads there? Are you using that as a tool?
Well, yeah, we put a lot of ads on all of those. We've got a lot of great content always coming out. We're also doing, I've got 150 reviews on Indeed because I told every employee, I kind of cheated the system a little bit. I said, hey, I text them all. And I said, hey, I'd really like you to let me know how I'm doing on Indeed. I said, either way, I don't care what you leave at all. But if you want $20 for taking the time to do it, just send it a screenshot into the payroll. But so I don't think they're going to send it a 1-star. But at the end of the day, I think we do the Net Promoter Score internally, and it's a learning curve that we get to do all the time when we do that. But for the most part, it's generally happy people. But I can tell you that with recruiting, the average time to onboard somebody is 15 days. You should get that down to 3 days. Get your drug test and background checks quick. Get the ride-alongs quick. You got to be able to. We use a thing called predictive index when you make it. We're really trying to find out personality types, but for the most part, make it simple. Have a follow-up campaign. Treat these people like gold. These are your future talent. And I got to tell you, I'm in this right now, changing a few things because I jump on the call. My job is to say, let me tell you something, Dom. I am so happy that you called because this is the coolest opportunity. Let me tell you why. At HVAC school, you're going to be an apprentice for 5 years. You're going to pay $100,000. We're going to pay you to learn this, and you're going to be on the road making a money in your career in 60 days. And here's what I love the most about it. When you meet the manager, the owner, whatever it is, the best employees we have, they had a lot of options. Now, if you don't get back to them for 48 hours and you say, we'll do a ride along in 14 days and you treat them like crap, they got other options. And you wonder why your employees, you're like, I can't get good guys. You and I hear this every day. I can't get good guys. I'm like, well, where are you looking? Number one, because their opportunity is the worst in the world. I'm going to steal a guy by paying him more money. And these guys just go to the next best thing all the time. Me, I take the people and I make them into the career. Whereas everybody else, they take the career and they pull them into the company. And I'm like, the only way I've gotten lucky by getting people is when they moved out of state and they applied and they had experience. For the most part, if they're jumping ship everywhere they go, you're not building a long-lasting employee. But I've got Big Buck Hunter, Golden Tee. We do barbecues all the time. I've got bags out there. We've got a thing you can dunk the trainer in the summer on the big water pool. Yeah. The things that we set up here, we've got a coffee machine, but it doesn't cost money. People go, well, I don't have that kind of money. I go, do you have a park in your city? in the summer? Do you have a park? Have you ever heard of a park? Yeah. How much is a hot dog? I think they're like 20 cents. Have you ever just thought about taking somebody and just asking them for a walk and
Yeah.
just a phone call to
It doesn't
congratulate
take
them
much.
on a great day?
Yeah.
Everybody goes, well, I don't have the kind of money like you. And I'm like, that's a cop out. You don't need any money to tell somebody.
I would say change. What you're doing is changing the question. How can I impress people? How can I show them I care? How can I do things a little different? How can I make it so they want their cousin to move to this town, to take a job, to work beside them at a place they're proud of?
And when you do that correctly, your referral network will be your best source. It's the employees. I give the employees $1,500 when they recruit somebody. One of the things I'm in the middle of changing is I'm having them fill out a form now that they will stand behind the person, because I don't want somebody going on saying, hey, I met a guy at Cedar Point in Ohio, and he seemed like a nice guy. I'll still hire that person, but you got to understand that they're going to go through the same interview process as anybody else. But when you say, hey, listen, Dom, I got a guy, he's better than me. This guy is a machine. He's got the best work ethic. He's knowledgeable. He's got a close relationship with his mom. And when you tell me all the things, I'm like, then I'm going to, unless this guy screws up and can't pass a background check or something, I'm going to hire him most likely, because you stood behind him and you're a top performer. But just know that $15 is a little bit of weight on your shoulders too. So that it's the way I look at things, and people go, man, $1,500. And I'm like, a good producer will do $1 million for me. That's a drop in the bucket, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. And we should start wrapping up here, but you still look at your recruiting the same way we look at marketing. What's my acquisition cost? How much is it costing to get that person? And what's the lifetime value? I'll have to explore that more in this show so people get even a little more depth on it. But Tommy, if people want to find you in this wide world, how do we find out more if we want to find out more about you?
On a lot of different social media, but I do have a book called The Home Service Millionaire. That's how I went from $50,000 in debt to, I think, 30 million. I forget, it's a couple years old. And, I got 12 co-authors in it. Al Levy was one of them. So that's available on Audible. And if you go to homeservicemillionaire.com/free, you pay for shipping and handling. You know how that works. It covers the cost of the book. But, and then I got a podcast, Home Service Expert, and you're going to be on there. Yeah. It's really just, I do it because it opened doors for me. My whole thing, people go, why did you start a podcast? I say, well, I could either pay these guys $1,000 an hour to talk to me, or they could come on the podcast and I could ask them all the questions about my business and learn so much. So I'm on like 240. And without the podcast, people are like, well, all these guys are getting into the garage business because of you. I'm like, the garage business wouldn't be what it is for me if it weren't for them. If I hadn't met Al Levy, and like, I could go on and on. Ken Goodrich with Gettle, who's a monster. Tons and tons. I would have never met you. So I've got so much to be thankful for. I don't care. Everybody get in the garage door company. Hopefully they join my roll up here in a couple of years, and we all win.
You're definitely an opportunity guy, and you're looking for the opportunities in the things in front of you. It's a great attitude. I hope people take that away. It's been a great interview. Thank you very much. I've got a ton of notes here. And I like the fact that you just reminded me that when we need to go recruit people, TikTok is an option. Beyond me, because I'm not a TikTok guy. My kids show it to me every once in a while, but I need to be recruiting on Facebook,
you will be.
On Instagram.
You will be.
I will be.
You will be. And I just want to tell you one thing, and I don't mean to make this drag on, but I remember Facebook when everybody was like, the moms were like, Facebook, these kids are just on Facebook. Now there's grandmas on Facebook all day.
Yeah.
It's the kids get done. And then all of a sudden, I'm watching guys like you talking on stage and I'm getting tidbits, quick videos of just knowledge bombs of like motivation. And I look at that thing and I'm like, I could go to certain guys that I got the favorites on there. And it's like, boom, 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 boom. Before a meeting, I walk in and I'm like, 3 minutes of TikTok. So it just depends. I think you're going to find that there's early adopters, and you might not be one of them, but if you learn to use it to your advantage. So I do think, one of my buddies was in town, and they're in their, 40s and 50s, and his wife she's on it all the time. And I love it because you're starting to see other generations using it. So you'll be surprised, but honestly, my avatar is not a 60-year-old. I hate to say it. And I'm trying to find somebody. They got to pass a physical. They got to be able to be in 120 degrees for a long period of time. And I'm not
standing on the ladder without losing their balance.
Yeah. So you get it. I didn't mean to ruin your ending here.
No, not at all. Not at all. I appreciate it. It's good. Thank you. I think you've given inspiration and really interesting ways of looking at the world that are different but applicable. Like it's just makes sense. And I'm like you. I don't like theory. I only like reality, and I like the fact that you bring all the reality to it. Tommy, thanks for being on the show. We'll have you back on again.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Bye.